This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City update for May 2nd, 6 p.m. Last night I had another edition of the Weather and the Media Show. My special guest was Paul Yeager, author of the book Weather Wise, and he was on the show for about an hour talking about his book that has facts, myths, and oddities about the weather. We talked about things such as, is Chicago the windiest city? Well, it's not. It averages around 10.3 mile per hour wind speed compared to, say, LaGuardia Airport in New York that averages 12.2 miles an hour. So, yes, Chicago is windy, and the wind is biting off of Lake Michigan. It feels very cold, but it is not the windiest city. And you hear things such as Seattle is the rainiest. It always rains in Seattle. Well, it only rains a few months out of the year pretty consistently, but they average around 37 inches per year compared to Miami that averages 58.53 inches per year. So Seattle is not the rainiest city. I had Paul on last night for about an hour, and we discussed all these things in his book. And I also talked about the oil spill and the severe weather in the Midwest. Archive subscribers can access this recorded video with their username and password that you were granted when you sign up for the annual subscription to Hurricane City. And it's also sent out to the mailing list to let you know that that's available. But it is on the front page for download. It's around 90 minutes long. So you can fast forward, rewind, and check out the points of the show that you want to watch at your convenience. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the situation right now in May. Going back to 1871, we've had 16 named storms in May. This is the only storm that became a major hurricane, and this is Hurricane Abel from 1951. It developed in the middle of May as a subtropical storm out here. Then it affected the Grand Bahama and Abaco Islands as a Category 1, and then moved north, became a major hurricane, the only one to become a major hurricane around May 15th off the outer banks of North Carolina, and then moved out to sea. So it did not really affect anybody in a bad way, but it is possible to get a major hurricane in May, but it's pretty unusual to even get a hurricane in May, much less a major one. But there have been quite a few named storms in May. Right now, for the next week or two, the long-range models do not show anything significant developing in the Caribbean or Gulf of Mexico, which are the development points for May. So things are quiet at this time. However, the hurricane season coming up concerns me greatly. Dr. Gray came out with their predictions for May. They do it in May and June, and they're predicting a season very similar in predictions to what they predicted back in 2005. Now, they predicted around 16 named storms back in 2005. We ended up with 28 named storms that year. This year, I think they're going to up the ante a little bit come June 1st, and the reason is because of these. This is called the 26-degree isotherm map, and these are temperatures. Anywhere you see greens and yellows are temperatures of 78 degrees or higher that are well below the surface of the ocean. So there's plenty of fuel out here for hurricanes, and it's only May 1st. Now, this is back from 2005. Now, let's show you the current isotherm map, and it's very similar to 2005. The temperatures are very warm, all the way up to almost 25 degrees north here, and there's some reds and yellows down here in the Caribbean, all the way out into the Atlantic, that are well below the surface, hundreds of feet below the surface, where there's fuel for hurricanes. So that's a concern going into the hurricane season, not to mention the fact that the pressure anomalies are very, very low. Now, this is from the Operational Climate Data Center, NCEP, and these are the anomalies right now for May 1st. And notice out here in the Atlantic Basin, the purple areas shaded here are very low pressures. These are off the scale almost for pressures, and when you get pressures way below normal out here, you have very large, powerful hurricanes, similar to what we saw in 2005. So if this trend continues, we could see very large, powerful hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin, and we also have them up here in the Northwest Pacific and somewhat in the East Pacific. But look out here in the Western Pacific, above normal anomalies. Now, these are the kind of pressures we saw in the Atlantic Basin last year in May. So if this trend continues, batten down the hatches, people in the Atlantic Basin. We're going to have a rough and tumble hurricane season coming up here. So I'll keep updating this map and the tropical updates, and I'll also preview the 2010 hurricane season and the hurricane season kickoff show for June 1st, where I pick my cities and islands I think are going to be at high risk. I've done a pretty good job at that over the years, and I think I'll give it another shot this year and see what we come up with. And that will be a preview in about a week or two on the next tropical update video. And then, of course, on the live show, hurricane season kickoff show, I'll reveal my top 5 which are usually affected some way during the hurricane season. So tune in for that. All right, we'll be back with another update in a week or two. We wish the best of luck to the people in the Gulf states with the oil spill. It's going to affect Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, and it could actually affect the peninsula of Florida as well. So we'll monitor this and put anything up on the live feed as the information becomes available. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.